Morning you guys, welcome back to the channel. Another Falconry episode. I've actually got a day off from the Falconry Centre today and a day off from schools. Lots to do, plenty and plenty of paperwork to do, but I'm going to try and have a bit of a day off. Cut the lawn, do some gardening, you know, a kind of things, a little bit of what normal people might do on a day off. Anyway, a slightly different video for you this time. I've been lucky enough to have been asked to sort of contribute to the world of Falconry magazine on several occasions. All different kinds of articles, all different kinds. If you don't subscribe or you haven't got any copies of the world of Falconry, it's a great magazine and always has a real varied, sort of broad spectrum of Falconry writings from various people around the world. Highly recommended. A couple of the fun ones were really my Falconry faux pas. The cock-ups and mistakes I've made during my sort of career of falconry, sometimes with the birds and sometimes with my own sort of health and safety. And I thought, I could do a video sort of mirroring those articles. But then I thought, yeah, that's going to get even longer than my normal videos. So I'm going to just regale you with two or three, slightly memorable and stupid mistakes I've made during my falconry time. Enjoy the video. Hopefully some of you, even if you don't admit it to other people, will nod sagely and think to yourself, yeah, that reminds me when I did whatever. So enjoy the video. I'm going to tell you just a couple of the, maybe 3 or 4 even, of the funniest things that I've done that really stick in my memory for my own stupidity. Okay. Now, something's for sure on this channel. I try and give you the benefit of my stupidity and encourage everyone to practice falconry correctly, or at least to the best of their ability, not cutting corners, doing things right so the bird isn't put in peril or danger any more than the nature will put it in peril and danger, but taking out the human stupidity element. Do things properly and do those things properly every single time. But we're all human. And I always really preach not only what I practice, but actually when I've done it wrong, so you can benefit from my stupidity. I think a classic one with the birds was flying Eric, my goshawk, the best goshawk I've ever had, the best goshawk I've ever seen. I know that's a big-headed thing, he just was. And a bird that's put me off flying goshawks for a very long time. Now, partly because I fly Zeus, and partly because when you've achieved something, because when you train a bird of prey, you're moulding, you're making, you've gone in hopefully with a game plan, and you're moulding and creating something, a falconry bird. When you've done something really, really well in your life, it's hard to go back because you kind of think, I'll always be thinking it's not as good as. I had the decade of riding fast motorbikes on the road and the track. I'd love another motorbike. I dream of motorbikes. I dream of pulling wheelies on GSXRs and so on and so forth. I rode to a really high level, knee down. Well, it was a different time though, knee down everywhere, wheelies everywhere, racing on the road. And my wife says, Dave, you're not having another one because you'd kill yourself. And of course she's right. I can't see. My reactions are slower. I'd be scared. I'm fat and unfit. And the roads are full of potholes more than they were then. And there's too much traffic. So of course, it will never be as good as it was. And I've got those memories now, rather than memories of me wobbling around. And it's the same with goshawks. However, watch this space. Keep tuned to the channel. Eric the goshawk, fantastic bird. I remember once out ferreting with a guy, ferreting hedgerows, and we had some good sport, and he caught a rabbit. And as always was the case, apart from a handful of times, he was fed up on the kill, fed well on his kill to reward him for all those efforts where, you know, he didn't get his own way, he missed her. And the ferret was still working. There was still a rabbit down in the little warren. So Eric was on the glove. He was now kitted up, leash on, and so on and so forth. I never tie my birds on. You should. I never do. I have my reasons, but I'd always teach other people you should tie your bird to your glove. Eric's on the glove, full crop, and we're just sitting on the bank now waiting for a rabbit to come out under the hedge so that the ferret would then come out. These ferret, a good working ferret, it doesn't come out until it's done the job. And that's flushing the game from underground. And out shot the rabbit. Eric baited. Muscle memory. I let him go. What a numpty. Fully kitted up with his leash on. What a numpty. And off he went. And in Eric's style, this wasn't given law. This was just sitting on a bank nearby. Way too easy. Grass field opposite side of the hedge. Off he went. Tree line to my left. My heart's in my mouth. I'm already swearing to myself. And he takes the rabbit. Full crop. And yeah, that was one of those Murphy's Law moments where Murphy's Law was asleep, because that could have gone terribly wrong. Had he have missed the rabbit, he would have swung up, I'm sure, to the tree line to be dangled there until he died, I should think. How stupid is that? How stupid is that? Flying a hawk with its leash on, fully cropped up. Muscle memory, reaction, not even conscious thought, but it just goes to show, even when you think you're doing things right, you still can be utterly stupid. Personal accidents. Flying Zeus, familiar ground. Off he went after a long distance hare, and over the tall hedgerow he went. Now on the estate, I know where all the gaps are, and in this case, the gap was a long way in the wrong direction to get Zeus back in sight. And I made that stupid decision to force my way through a gap that didn't exist. And what did exist was literally wild roses mixed with bramble and a deep ditch the other side of the hedge. And there was a tiny gap. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to clear the ditch, and I am going to land in the wild roses. But if I take a running jump, I'll probably only land up to my sort of knees and waist, and I'll just roll out onto the top of the bank the other side. I didn't realise I can't jump as far as I thought with wellies and stuff on, and I landed in a patch of wild roses. In fact, it was so deep, and I was so in it, that my feet weren't even on the ground. I was suspended bodily in a huge patch of wild dog rose. And if you know anything about roses, you know those dagger-shaped, sickle-shaped thorns hook in like a wild cat. You just can't break through. Blackthorn, hawthorn, my God, that puts holes in you. But at least the thorns are straight. Wild roses, backward pulling daggers. The more you wriggle, the deeper they went in. That really hurt. And even though it was the hunting season, it was a warm day, and I'd got hardly any sort of protective layers on. I hadn't got a coat on or anything. I somehow wriggled and rolled my way kind of over the top, freeing my lower body and getting out, but not before I was ripped to shreds. When I finally caught up with Mike and his Benelli's eagle, bleeding all down my face and neck, no sympathy at all. No falconers do anything with their mates when it comes to sympathy other than heartily laugh until they're crying absolute tears of joy, seeing their friends with a talon through their hands, or indeed shredded by wild roses. Back to stupid falconry mistakes with the bird's health and safety. So not content with years before slipping a goshawk at game that had a full crop and all its leash attached, I think my absolute untrumpable one was this. Flying Zeus, a golden eagle, again on familiar land. We'd walked maybe, I don't know, half a mile from the van downwind, and we slipped at a hare, pretty much downwind. Over the hedge the eagle went, through the hedge the hare went, over the top the eagle went, now out of sight. I finally get through the hedge to an open stubble field. No sign of Zeus. Now I could see a long way. Normally, he'd be making his way back to me if he missed, or he'd be on the deck with his prize. Big field of view, no sign of him. Okay, maybe he's under the hedge. No sign of him. Out with the receiver. No signal. No signal at all. Just a faint glimmer, then nothing. And I just thought, how can he possibly have gone that far? And I just thought to myself, yeah, he's got to have gone downwind. He must have just gone with this massively windy day and just kept on going and going and going in such a short time. But it just seems so unlikely and unnatural, not just something that's never happened. Or was my kit faulty? So I rang young Tom Morath at the Falconry Centre, and it was towards the end of the day. He'd finished with his experience days. He came down in his truck across the fields to meet me with another receiver. We got a signal. And it was back upwind. And I went, do you know what, Tom? He must have circled round upwind, missed me as I went through the hedge or something, and just made his way upwind to look for me. But on a really windy day, without being able to see me, again, quite unusual. He'd normally drift off downwind or just sit tight. But sure enough, we drove the truck back a bit. The signal was louder. So I thought, right, we'll drive a fair old way back past the van, back past the starting point. Sure enough, we'd sort of triangulated. It was back the other way. So somewhere between those 2 points, we knew he was there somewhere. And anyone that loses a bird temporarily knows, as soon as you've got a signal on your receiver, the pressure's off. If you know what you do with telemetry, yeah, we're in contact, we'll track him down. We kept getting out and triangulating. It was still back towards the van. I said, I just can't believe it. Can't believe he's flown so far into such a strong headwind looking for me. No, sure enough, he did. And we got nearer and nearer the van. And I said, do you know what? I reckon he's gone back to the van. Because when I get to the van, I always feed him the rest of his day's rations before he goes away into the box, before he goes back home. I thought, he's done what those sort of really clever Harris hawks do. He's realised that the van is where he gets a load of food at the end of the day if he doesn't catch anything. He's gone back to the van. So we get to the van and we scan and it's banging, beep, beep, beep. I said, he's here somewhere. He's here. He's not on top of the van. Where is he? I remembered. We threw some, well, we sort of prepared a hare. We gutted a hare. We threw the guts in the hedge only 2 days before for the foxes to clear up. I thought, he's seen it. He's seen that stuff. And he's in that. He's got to be in the bottom, not the hedge, in the bottom of the ditch. The ditch is there, covered in weeds and brambles. We scanned it. Sure enough, it's down on the ground. I thought, I don't believe it. He's in there somewhere, eating offal. But no, it was the other side. It was back towards the van. I dropped on my knee. He's under the van. He must be under the van. So I dropped on my knees to have a look. And at that point, the penny dropped. We'd just tracked the transmitter all the way back to the van that I turned on, put on top of the hawk box ready to clip to the bird, and never did. Flying an eagle in very high winds, I turned the transmitter on and hadn't popped it on his tail. Now, I can tell you, I've flown many display birds, especially in training, without transmitters because I've forgot to attach them to the bird. Literally, I've done it so many times. I've turned it on, haven't clipped on their tails. Too busy getting on with stuff. But with a golden eagle, that's a sin. More than anything, you should not be losing an eagle. You can imagine how I then felt. We've just wasted an hour tracking a bird, definitely in the opposite direction to where it had gone. Where was Zeus? That was a very worrying several hours. That's for another video. I'll tell you about that one day. It's a brilliant story, but it's too long for this video. Tell you what though, buy those back copies of the World of Falconry magazine, because it's in there in writing and it makes a damn good read. But I'll tell you about it on the channel one day. But we did get him back. What a faux pas that was. Now, when it comes to your mates having no sympathy for your injuries, yeah, and laughing at you, this one's the best I've ever done. When it comes to serious injury to myself, friend had a goshawk. An acquaintance of Mike had a goshawk and it died from an accident. Now, this guy genuinely practiced falconry on a shoestring, but he was also a very good falconer. And he said to Mike, you don't know anyone that's got a goshawk, do you? That's, you know, that's a fair price. And it was already the season. And I was flying Eric. But I still got my second-hand imprint goshawk that I'd flown for 2 seasons before, maybe 3 seasons before Eric came along. Eric came along by accident. There was no plan to get another goshawk. I was flying 2. I was putting all my time into Eric. And I said to Mike, do you know what? Tell him he can have it for, it was literally, yeah, not a lot of money at all. He can have Max. And he did. And the guy was so grateful. He said, I've got some great land up in Nottingham. Why don't you come up, bring your Benelli's, Mike, bring your other goshawk down. We'll have a day out together on my land. So we did. I had a great day out. And Max was slipped by his new owner first. I took a partridge in fine style. And then we were walking up rough ground for the young Eric, the young brown bird. And he caught a rabbit. Sort of, just an average sized rabbit of the year. In nice rough tussocky grass, the sort of grass you'd love to have full of rabbits these days. We're just walking up game all the time. And the lads were talking to me. I'd made into the hawk and I was trying to, excuse me, break into the hawk. And the lads are talking. I'm kneeling down now. I've always used a knife to break into my hawk. Again, you've got to use knives so carefully. You've got to know what you're doing if you're using a knife to break into the quarry for your bird. It's only good, it's only one step away from footing the knife. And if it's a properly sharp knife, that bird could bleed out. You've got to know what you're doing. I'm shielding the bird with my glove. I'm just trying to break through. I just couldn't get through the hide of this rabbit. It wasn't the knife's fault. This sort of young rabbit had hide like a rhinoceros. I've never known anything like it. It was ludicrous. And I'm sort of struggling away. And the guys are talking to me. I'm looking up. And I look up, look down. I've got full pressure, trying to just put a point of this knife through the hide. Classic. Obviously, I'm cutting towards myself, not the bird. Full pressure. It slips. Stabs myself in the knee. In and out in a flash, literally. But all the force I could have stabbed myself in the knee with. In and out in a flash. And I'm kneeling down. And I say to the guys there talking, I said, I've just stabbed myself really badly. And I went, oh, yeah. I said, yeah, it was actually quite bad. But I carried on. So they just thought, yeah, you just nicked yourself. I just carried on. So I thought, there's no point. We've got to sort the hawk out. He deserves his feed up. And we carried on. Finally got through the rabbit, fed the hawk up. And then I stood up. 1/2 inch cut in my trousers. So that told me how far the blade had gone in. Yeah, probably actually nearly 1 inch, to be honest. It was the full width of the blade. And the lads that were laughing and joking went ashen-faced and white, soaked in blood, puddle of blood on the floor, to the foot. Jesus Christ, Dave, we need to get you to hospital. I said, no, it'll be all right. I just won't look at it. But I'll take the hawk back to the van and I'll just sit and wait. I've got my phone. No. We've got to take you to the hospital. That's a serious wound. Don't worry about it, guys. It's all right. It's a nick. It'll be all right. If it gets too bad, I'll ring you. But carry on, Mike. See if you can get something with your Benelli's Eagle. We've come a long way. So I walk back up to the van, put the bird away, sort my kit out, and there's a bit of low met steel farm machinery near the van. And I think, well, I know what I'll do. I'll sort of sit on that and lift my leg. I'll elevate my foot higher than my knee, and that'll sort of probably, hopefully, stop any great amount of pressure and bleeding. But as I did that, I felt that awful sensation of all the blood run out of my welly boot, all the way at the back of the leg to my bum. And I kind of thought, that's a lot of blood to do that. So I actually rang the guy and said, yeah, I hope you know where the nearest hospital is, but you were right. I think we need to get to hospital. So we go to the hospital. I stagger in, or wherever, I sort of hobble in. And the lady behind the reception says, oh, what have you done? And they said he stabbed himself in the knee. At which point, the receptionist and my two mates are now crying in laughter at my stupidity in the hospital waiting room, in the casualty area. So she says, you'll have to take a seat. I said, right, have you got a towel or anything? She said, what do you want a towel for? I said, I'm absolutely soaked in blood. If I sit on your seats, they're going to get covered in blood. Oh, no, we haven't. No, you better stand. Seriously. So now I'm standing. Goodness me. Long story short, went through the triage and the treatment. Had to have an x-ray before any work was done. He's stitching up. And the x-ray girl was off duty. So what was going to happen? I was going to have to be patched up or something and stay in hospital until the morning. And I literally had to sweet talk the x-ray lady, who literally did give in, get me an x-ray. Thank God for her. And then I went back. There was nothing in there. And they finally stitched up I think it was an arterial vein. So when I actually took my trousers off, took my wellies off, it was literally going psst, 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 pumping out about that far. Yeah, how stupid was that? So my advice to all of this on this video is, what 3 words? If you've got what 3 words on your phone, you can triangulate anyone. You can dial 999 and you can tell them within about 1 metre square on that app where you are. Because if you're in the middle of the fields, you can't ring an ambulance and really tell them where you are. Something like what 3 words, or pinpoint your GPS position, if you like, to anyone. Have an ice contact on your phone in case of emergency. Have someone to call. You just don't know what's going to happen. And if you're an old git like me, you know us men in our 50s, not a good time. You kind of need help fast if you're going to need it and you're out on your own with your hawk. What you don't want is someone to find you 24 hours later with a massive, great, overfed hawk sitting on top of you that's been eating you, do you? Hope you've enjoyed this short video. Again, something different. The ordinary videos are going to come back soon, but I hope you've enjoyed this one. I've got plenty more of these stories. Maybe I'll regale you with some more in a future video. Enjoy your falconry, but stay safe and subscribe.